Hello and welcome back to The Disconnected, and this is part 2 of a conversation that I don't even remember when we had the part 1. It feels like forever ago because lots has happened between the two of us. So this is the Fanatical Dragon, and if you haven't seen it, please click on, there's going to be like 9 links, I'm sure, showing you the video. Please go watch that first one. It is an introduction to premium releases. We're going to recover some of that probably today, and then go to a handful of other companies that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and then maybe go into some diverging sort of discussions that are surrounding premiums. Maybe some major labels that are similar, maybe some studio releases that are similar, and just whatever else, because you're always fun to talk to. Welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Great to be back.
How's everything been?
Good. Busy. Too busy. Doesn't feel. I think it's probably been a quarter of a year since we did this last time, and it feels like two weeks.
I swear it's been longer. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't know where the time goes, and so it's just. And
since then, you've launched your Patreon. You didn't even have the Patreon last time.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. How's that been?
Good, really, really cool. Actually, I'm kind of enjoying getting to do stuff that's slightly different format. I'm doing some of this sort of stuff, so kind of more straight to camera stuff.
Nice.
Did my first commentary for it, which was great fun, and I've been doing a little bit of kind of story sharing as well. So using the Patreon page almost like a Facebook news group. So putting up stills, press release information and stuff too. So since you can upload videos directly to Patreon now too, which is extremely cool. In the beginning, I was having to just put it onto YouTube and then share it. But being able to put stuff directly onto there means I can kind of get away with using longer clips from films and stuff without worrying about YouTube being
nice.
So yeah, that's been really cool.
That's smart.
Because yours has been running for a while now.
Yeah, I'm in about 2 months. I'll be on a full year, I think.
Cool. Okay, I actually thought it was a wee bit longer than that. Because I'd like to get to the point of doing the giveaways, and you're already at that sort of stage. So I think I'm like one Patreon short of breaking my giveaway goal. And we start like monthly giveaways for tier 3, and so I've been steadily building up like stock of stuff to try and kind of give away.
Nice. Let's dive into it. One of the most obvious companies that we missed the first time was Plane Archive. I don't know how it skipped our minds.
We've spoken about so much Korean stuff.
That's true. One of my favorite of the premiums, easily. Plane Archive stuff is top notch. I'm sure you've got a handful of things from Plane Archive to show. I got 2 recently that I just got in a trade, and so these are brand new. The only ones that I've seen are my patrons. So this is going to be the first time I've even showed them on the channel. One of them is this beautiful full slip release of Melancholia.
Nice.
And the art on this is stupendous. And this release is just an Amaray case. It's not even a steelbook. It's just a nice...
Those beautiful full scannable cases that I do. You can like edge to edge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they've got the cover art card if you want to see like the front of the slip art and the back. It's just nice like that. Pretty decent booklet, both in Korean and English. So you got it in 2 languages. And then the film. And I will be watching this one soon because I've not watched this in a long time. My wife has never seen it. And she's going to be introduced to this and the other one for the first time. And I'm stoked to watch this again.
I'm spying that it still has its Plane Archive sticker on it. It's much coveted Plane Archive sticker, which I think if you only normally get those if you buy direct from Plane Archive.
Yeah.
So you can look for them secondhand because weirdly it can massively affect the resale value by about 50 quid.
Usually you'll see these markings on the bottom and on the Plane Archive stuff. Sometimes they're numbered. This one is not numbered, but it's all right. This is a gorgeous release. Really, really fantastic. You want to show one of yours?
Yeah, their design's so stunning, and I think they occasionally they'll do almost like a one quick equivalent.
Yep.
Or there'll be a few different versions of a release, and sometimes you can kind of get them grouped together. But probably my fanciest one's probably Believer, which is an incredible film. Korean movie, kind of a remake of a Johnny To film called Drug War. I don't shoot me Johnny To fans, but slightly prefer the Korean remake. I think it's like paced a little bit better and really like the central performances. But this is a steelbook release, so this came as I think you could get either the steelbook on its own, a steelbook with a full slip, or this All Singing All Dancing, which is the 4K and Blu-ray. And you get you usually get a few bits and pieces inside the box, signed if you get them from Plane Archive by somebody attached to the productions. I think that's maybe signed by the director. A spare Plane Archive sticker, And then inside your actual box is this. The box is, incidentally, like we were looking at last time, really solid, tricky to bend.
Super good materials.
A fairly substantial book, which is
wow.
all your storyboards for the movie.
That is a solid release.
It's really, and it wasn't crazy money. I mean, even with shipping, it wasn't like hundreds and hundreds. It was more. I think it was about $60 or $70.
Wow.
Plus shipping, and if you kind of spread the shipping amongst a few different titles, it wasn't bad. And booklet, like your experience, half in English and half in Korean. Really nice art on that. And then there's also a full screenplay, which is in Korean.
Whoa.
Because it's a Korean movie. But yeah, really, really nice. And they also did a separate release, which I picked up at the same time, which was just it's got a really good soundtrack. And kind of like a mix of quite a few different musical styles, but all done by this one guy called Daipan or Danpan, I think. Dalpalan. And so they released the soundtrack as a separate kind of full slip. It's a scannable case inside.
Wow.
And basically just kept that one sealed. Got a digital copy of it.
That's really nice.
Soundtrack on its own and really cheap. I think it was like $10 or something for the soundtrack when I ordered it.
Wow.
I just threw it in as like a wee extra, so it kind of sits alongside that box. So yeah, that was and that was straight from them. I think that's one of the first ones that I got directly from Plain Archive. And
nice.
Great website. No real loyalty scheme to speak of, sadly. So you don't accumulate points, but they're quick and their shipping is relatively reasonable. Do you want to show your second one?
Sure. Again, this was, I started to get rid of some titles, and I had some doubles and triples that I was like, I probably don't need these older DVD releases that are really nice. And I just wanted more space, and then I was the idiot that said, I'm getting rid of some titles, you want to trade me some back? So I got that, and this, Paul Thomas Anderson's
nice.
The Master.
I'm still yet to see that movie. That's Joaquin Phoenix, isn't it?
Yes. Joaquin Phoenix, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams, and then there's one or two other decent names. I can't remember who else. There's a couple in there. Really nice art on this book. Beautiful. It's this beautiful, like almost watercolor style. And the whole book in here is just really well made. Again, dual language. This one is a steelbook, and it goes with the same art style on this. And when you open it, I'm not going to show the back yet because it's all one picture. I really like the steelbook.
I love a good wraparound. Yeah.
And then on top of that, this is all debossed. They usually do a lot with their titles, and with if they've got some sort of like a rectangular design on the front, they'll deboss that sometimes. And then on the inside, we've got all the physical goodies with the steelbook that comes in there. It's got, I believe this is art cards, an extra sticker like you just showed, and then I don't think there's a signature in this one. But yeah, really great release, and it's The Master. It's a great film. So the fact that they're able to get something like this, it's kind of a big deal. And again, like we talked about last time, a lot of the time, the extra stuff here mostly is just packaging. You're not getting, exclusive commentaries or anything like that. However, most of the time, these companies are adding all the same special features that you would get elsewhere. So you're not losing much of anything most of the time.
And they're starting to dive more and more into series. So they did.
Yes.
Show this one. It's a kind of great Korean series called Cursed. Which this is the kind of complete series. It had a spin-off movie called Dead Man's Tales. Or can't remember. I have to check on the spin-off's name, but quite a short series. I think maybe 12 episodes. Sort of supernatural thriller, kind of a journalist trying to investigate these mysterious deaths, and it's got a link to sort of strange sort of Taoist witchcraft and different ceremonies that are taking place and possible spirit possession. Pretty cool. As one of the actresses from Parasite, the person that played the rich family's daughter, is kind of one of the central characters in it. But really, really nice in a kind of big digit, again, kind of custom art.
Wow.
I always move it the wrong way. So it wraps around.
Wow.
And then all three discs inside.
Jeez.
Most of the ones I've picked up are predominantly all Korean releases, but they just did an amazing box set of oh god, mine's gone completely blank. Park Chan-wook's TV series for the BBC, Little Drummer Girl.
Yes, and it's that's the 4K release of that even.
and that box set was crazy. I mean, talk about printed materials. There was, I think, 4 separate files worth of stuff. It's unreal. I think there's still a few available somewhere, but it's like £200. So I didn't stretch it. I have a couple of friends who pulled the plug on it and are still going through the materials weeks later after getting the set. But so they do a nice mix of Korean and also international stuff too. So there's quite a lot of American films in their catalogue. Sells out.
Yeah, they are usually very quick to get stuff out. Little Drummer Girl, I think they announced like 2 years ago, and it just finally released. I think one of the things is they announced it in Blu-ray and they upgraded it to 4K in between that time. So that was, I think, one of the reasons for the delay. But yeah,
BBC, I think it was co-funded by the BBC, so the BBC have to have a window when they can show it on their digital iPlayer exclusively first. And so I think it wasn't allowed to go into physical media for a while. It got a DVD release some time ago in the UK, but I think that was a BBC-backed DVD release.
Got it. Interesting. Any other Plane Archives you want to show?
Yeah. Pretty recent pickup, right? So a while ago, I'd gotten. I love Old Boy. Again, sticking with part 2.
Yes.
Absolutely adore Old Boy, and have that wonderful Arrow set.
Oh, yep, I see it right there, the elevator.
The kind of Vengeance trilogy set. So really, totally didn't need another copy of Old Boy. But a while back, somebody was selling just the slipcase from one of the Plane Archive releases. So I got it for literally £3, £4. I was like, yeah, I'll take that.
Wow.
Put something else in it. So I keep other Park Chan-wook movies in it.
Nice.
But, not long ago, found kind of one of my holy grails. Just I really loved the pattern of the gift boxes in that movie. And over the years, there's been a few different kind of box sets from different countries that have used that pattern at its core. And so one of the Plane Archive ones just basically turns the whole box into packaging. So it basically just replicates one of the gifts from the film.
That is gorgeous.
Inside, we have a steelbook, quite a nice steelbook. A nice art at the front.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that poster.
And the back.
Nice.
Steel disc. You get a really long documentary, Old Days.
Wow.
And then a nice wee envelope in that same material with cards inside there. Again, book. So I kind of thought that would be it. I thought that was me sorted for Old Boy. But then this came up, which is the third version, the third cover option they did. So this isn't the steelbook. This is the Amaray case. A purple, quite a nice touch. It has same book, but slightly different extras inside the box.
Okay.
So that should have been the end of it. But over Christmas time, I found that this was a price too cheap to pass by. It was still sealed when I got it. But this is the German Cape Light Pictures.
Holy cow.
5-disc release. Of Old Boy. So not really any on-disc extras that aren't on the other sets. It's very English friendly, so all of the documentary, all of the extra features are still English subbed, but it's nice inside. You get a really nice digi in that beautiful pattern that I'm clearly obsessed with.
Nice.
The soundtrack and posters, cards inside there.
Wow.
We get we're about to talk about media books. That's a media book that goes inside, which is your 4 discs.
And who put this one out?
This is by Cape Light Pictures, Germany.
Oh, Cape Light's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, they do some nice stuff. There's sort of 2, Cape Light and Cock are the 2 that I've sort of had a bit of experience with. Cock do some stuff too.
If I heard them right, I just recently talked to Wicked Vision on my channel, and I believe he was saying Cock Media is the one that changed their name to Playon, that Plaion.
Okay.
So Cock might be no more, and it might only be Playon. I think it's Playon Pictures.
Ah, okay.
So they're the ones that put out that giant He-Man set that everybody's been raving about in, I think it was December.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they've got some nice stuff. It can be quite tricky to get. Amazon Germany is not bad for Cock stuff. There's also Turbine Media. We spoke about this like when we were messaging back and forth, but Turbine did that incredible Frighteners set, which I don't have, but looks beautiful.
It looks great. And then last year or the year, no, I think it's been 2 years now. They did that. They were the first one to do the 4K of an American Werewolf in London that took the world by storm. And then Arrow announced theirs, and everybody was like, "Ah, damn, Uh, yeah, Turbine's done a lot of stuff. Turbine, I wanted to highlight probably 2019.
Okay.
They did, I don't know if you ever saw it in hand, that Psycho Legacy collection. It
No,
looked like a
never
giant
reflect.
cereal box release.
Yeah.
Huge, amazing release. It had all 4 of the original Psycho films. It had the Psycho documentary that was made in the US a few years ago. It had another documentary, whole bunch of extras, but then the physical stuff. There was like a reproduction of a journal. There was posters. There was so many things. And now I think they sell a smaller, like abbreviated version of it without all the physical stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's probably still great, but man, that first release was stupendous.
Yeah, very, very.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so Play On, I did want to throw out too, they're doing more site exclusives, which is not great because on a lot of their releases, they don't ship outside of Germany at all to anybody. So even
through a separate German retailer?
Well, because it's a site exclusive, you can't go through another retailer.
Okay.
So it's messy. And turns out, we just got word, I don't know if you heard about this, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they're putting out a 4K of a Bava title, or is it a Bava one? I think it is. Yes, so it is a Mario Bava title. They're putting this out on 4K, and it just released, and it's coming to like some US distributors. Found out Play On region locked the 4K disc.
Wow.
And this is only like
rare.
8th this is like the 8th disc in the world that's ever been region locked on 4K. They're not supposed to be. So if they're going to start doing that, it's not going to be somebody that a lot of people will want to buy from, probably, sadly.
Well, especially because it sounds like all the odds are stacked against you, even be able to track it down. If you can't order from the website, you can't play it outside of because that would default to what region B 4K.
Yep.
Which I didn't even think they could do. I thought the 4K was just 4K. Great.
Well, the 4K standard, the format, does not have anything built into it for region locking, and there have been 8 or 9-ish discs, like something like that people have found a way to region lock, which I don't even know why you would want to in today's day and age with the internet making the world so small. Shout Factory did one. Most of them have been Germany, though.
It's maybe a really heavy-handed penalty in a contract. So, like, there's a few instances. I know that Spectrum, I deal with Spectrum quite a lot, and Spectrum do loads of great Shaw Brothers releases, but no English subs. There's always a kickback about the fact that they don't put English subs on, but they genuinely can't. They would not be allowed to put the film out if they put English subs on. They're only sold distribution rights for France. And so it's seen as being a French release of an international language movie. So they can have its original language and they can have French, and that's it, or they don't get to release it. And I think for some of the companies that have these slightly weird little stipulations, I think it's often because in order to get the rights, there'll be a contract written out, obviously, but the contract sometimes will have a penalty whereby if you allow this to be sold outside of these regions knowingly and willingly, you give us X amount, and sometimes that X amount could bury the company. People put horrible amounts into those boxes to just scare distributors, I think, sometimes.
Wow.
So it could be something like that.
Have you got any of those French releases to see if there are English subs? They're just not advertising them?
Yeah. I've kind of got quite a few of them that definitely no English subs on there. And I think it's okay. My wife's been learning French for a while, and they're all Cantonese movies. So she can listen to them in Cantonese and kind of teach herself French a bit better through those releases, which is kind of cool. And I just try and keep up. I try and kind of use Cantonese and my schoolboy French to get by. And they're kung fu films, so they're not. No one's having 20-minute monologues. It's pretty easy. But while we're on the subject of German stuff, and while we're on the subject of Cock before they changed, that was my other one because I thought this would be right up your street. I don't know if you'd seen this version before.
I have not. Wow.
It's Hardware, aka Mark 13. It's a beautiful set and kind of really sort of super stark design. It's in this weird box. I got it cheap because it's had a bit of shelf damage.
It's mangled a little.
I got a fraction of what they normally sell for, because these can be quite expensive. But very English friendly. So commentaries and stuff by the director all in English. And same with the documentaries. And then inside you get the little 2000 AD comic that the story was very famously ripped off from. Lost and all, I think, in that film's case. And then a little book, which is kind of mostly just explaining a great quote from Richard Stanley, the director, about how he essentially feels that drugs should always be taken before entry into any project, which is pretty good fun. And that book is, the rest of that book's in German. And then this great, very stark.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Super simple. Just very clean. But
yeah.
And I think that was one of the earlier Cox sets that I'd found, but was looking for.
It had to have been, yeah. Yeah, they've done some great stuff. They did Lynch's Dune in a 4K set very, very almost like prestige compared to the Arrow set, which was already pretty good.
Yeah.
But people are clamoring after that one, and that one I've seen sell for over $200 easily.
It was like leather or wooden bound or something, wasn't it? It was in a really fancy.
It was. I feel like it was almost like plexiglass on the outside, and it was like a monolith, and then on the inside, I think it was leather wrapped digibook or something like that. Wild looking release. It looked insane. I think even the retail on it was like $130 or something like that. So it was a little out of my league.
Yeah, because it can get pricey. That was the thing we were saying last time too. The premiums really can get incredibly expensive very, very quickly.
They're called premiums for a reason, sadly.
Yeah.
One that got expensive very quick that we didn't talk a whole lot about last time, which I wanted to highlight because the company is no more, and I think they started working at Zavvi. EverythingBlu.
Yeah.
And this is one of their most rare releases I wanted to show for anybody that has not seen them. This is their Shaun of the Dead set. They did one of these for each of the Cornetto trilogy films. And this one was limited to only 500, and it's got the little credit card on the back. You can see mine is number 401 out of 500. And because this one was only 500, it sold out pretty much immediately. And then the next two, they were higher numbered releases, so they are more common, which is a really odd choice for a trilogy. But they did really great stuff, and unfortunately, I think it just got too expensive for them. So they kind of got folded into Zavvi. Is that how it went? Did you hear something else?
No, I think it was more victim of their own success, actually. I think it was going really well. And Zavvi basically kind of headhunted the creative team. But it's hard to know where the division of labour ends and how much they're directly involved with Zavvi. Because I think they kind of seem to do production for a few different exclusives for some of the major labels. But they were all over that Rambo First Blood set that came out from Zavvi, which was very much like felt like an EverythingBlu release. I didn't manage to pick it up in time. They sold out really, really, really quick. But there was multiple versions where you could get like the steelbook on its own, the steelbook in a full slip, and then similar to your kind of almost like a one-click with the two different versions together.
Yep.
I think instead of doubling up on the movie, one of the one-slip boxes they'd filled with, one of the full-slip boxes they'd filled with other stuff. So if you kind of got the box, you were getting like a different mix of stuff than if you just got the full slip.
Oh, interesting.
And I think they did the one. Remember, I think I got my Mantalab Ex Machina around about the same last time when we spoke, and they just announced a super fancy Ex Machina release coming from the exclusive. Like, God damn it! So I sold my Mantalab version and got there. So I think this is an EverythingBlu worked on Zavvi.
That makes sense.
And it's nice. I think the quality of the printing is really nice, and again, a sort of steelbook at its core, which you could get on its own.
Yep.
It's kind of quite nice.
Still a gorgeous steelbook. I love the art on that steelbook.
No, they're not doing the debossing thing, which you get with the premium labels, which I don't see too much on Zavvi. Occasionally, maybe on the sort of standalone steelbooks, but the photo book pretty nicely made and a lot more affordable than most premium releases. So I think some of the companies, by the time that we factor in shipping, the Manta Labs or the Premium Plain Archives, or some of these other companies, by the time you brought them over to you, can be into the hundreds. And I think that was maybe $49 retail for the 4K. So it's,
and for you at least, it's still shipping in the UK, so that shouldn't have been awful, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't bad at all. And I think there are a few of the companies in the States. Do Diabolic pull in Zavvi stuff? Are they allowed to? No. That's a GroupBuys site.
This is a really good time to bring this up. Have you heard all of the drama with Zavvi this week?
No, not specifically.
So, I was gonna post this, but not a lot of people are following my stuff for the premium news. So we'll just put it in this video to talk about it. They announced that they are having some sort of issues, I guess. And let's talk about this. Zavvi no longer shipping the vast majority of its steelbooks outside of the UK for the foreseeable future.
Just steelbooks or everything? Just steelbooks?
They're saying just steelbooks in this announcement, but it's the way you read it, it almost sounds like more. They said some changes were made over the last few days, and there are complete sections that were removed from the site settings, but they finished the transition and not only blocked them from most of the site settings, but blocked all of the Zavvi exclusive UK-only steelbooks from shipping outside of the UK at all.
Wow. Okay.
And once you reach checkout on the UK site, where most of the steelbooks are, you're only allowed to enter UK addresses. You used to be able to enter international US addresses, whatever you wanted to do to be able to buy them when they were exclusives. But on the US site right now, you can only see like a really small number of steelbooks that were available in the US anyways through other people. And Zavvi's usually more expensive for those. So not entirely sure what they are shooting for with this, because this doesn't seem like it'll help them very much.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
The thing that really bothers me is that we would get one that I was going to show, Arrow exclusives. This is one that I got from Zavvi. Really nice steelbook release, really nice box book. Great, basically a premium release. And I got it from Zavvi. And now, am I going to be able to do that? But also, the Hut Group that owns Zavvi owns the majority of Arrow. What if they turn off their UK side exclusives to the rest of the world too?
They've in effect kind of done that for us from the US side. So at the moment, it's very difficult for me. I can't order directly from Arrow's US site, send it here. I can order.
Weird.
It automatically bounces you back to Arrow UK. So because and I've tried setting up different accounts and seeing if I can have an account at that side. It's really not happy. I could maybe try VPN. I haven't tried that, so I don't know if it's hard locked to not accept UK addresses. But it's pretty difficult to get stuff out of the US based site from the Arrow side for us over here. I'm having to use Amazon US or Diabolic for those Arrow US releases, because the release schedule is getting more and more different, and they're picking up so much stuff that Eureka had previously put out over here, and then doing slightly nicer versions. And by the time it gets to the States, usually the disc's about the same, but the packaging is usually a bit nicer. And
on those, they've been adding new commentaries on a couple of those, so it's actually sometimes a good reason to pick some up.
Yeah, I have to sort of always check on a case-by-case basis, because they seem to have a quite loose friendship with Eureka, so they are definitely doing straight. I kind of get the sense of sharing costs, by sharing kind of manufacturing and distribution costs.
They are, because they've been doing that with Eureka in the UK, and then on the US they've been doing it with Synapse for their Argento 4K titles. So they've been doing a lot of the same mastering, and it's just two companies basically just chipping in together to get something done.
And seeing more and more of that. I noticed that the most recent Cat 3 release from 88 Films, they did Ebola Syndrome, which Vinegar Syndrome did ages ago. But at the end of that 88 disc, it's the Vinegar Syndrome logo pops up, and they're all going to be. So they still just absolutely use their restoration, and that was kind of weird to see, because I think Vinegar Syndrome and 88 Films, I did wonder how friendly they were with the release schedule was so mirrored at the moment. And it's a bit crazy, because Vinegar Syndrome are a bit more efficient in getting stuff to market fast.
That's true. Although they are, Vinegar Syndrome has marketed the hell out of some of these releases. Thriller just got a German media book release in the same 4K disc and everything. They're going pretty hog wild with some of those titles, and their scans are the big things. That Vinegar Syndrome does incredible work on their restoration. So of course that's going to be pretty much the best you can get. So why not just license it?
Yeah, at the moment I've never loved them more. And the kind of, when I first discovered them, it was really because one of my a subscriber, it turned into a really good friend, had said, "Why haven't you bought anything from Vinegar Syndrome?" And so it's really my thing. So he sent me New York Ninja, which I adored. It was really, really cool.
Nice.
And then got Tiger Claws, which was less cool. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of what I expected it was going to be. I don't know if I have room for, much as I enjoy that type of film sometimes, I don't know how much space I can dedicate in my very small one-room studio apartment to that amount of stuff. So I sort of took a bit of a step back, but then Right and Wrongs came, and then Iceman Cometh, and now they kind of seem to be doing a whole spat of Ringo Lam movies. So Undeclared War came through, and Burning Paradise, and just beautiful. Yeah.
And then that Made in Hong Kong box set in January.
Yeah, I didn't pick up the horror one. That one I couldn't stretch. Did you grab the horror one?
Well, I'm a subscriber, so it was coming anyways. But it's from what I'm hearing, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. A lot of people, I don't remember if it was marketed this way, but a lot of people were under the assumption that they were all Cat 3 titles. And out of the 3, only one of them was a Category 3 title, and the other 2 are a lot more tame. And I think one of them was very disappointing for people because it was a little bit on the boring side. But the big thing is Anthony Wong was in all of them, so that was the big connective tissue. And it still looks like a solid release. I literally just opened it yesterday, so I'm eager to dive into that here soon.
Let me know how you go, because I think we've not really spoken much about horror ourselves, but I think I kind of like the Hong Kong horror stuff that came around before Cat 3 was a thing. Cat 3 was relatively late, sort of late 80s, kind of when it was introduced as a rating system. And I find that because so many of them were exploitation movies and the budgets kind of vary so wildly, that it can be quite an unpredictable area to jump into. And the rating covered so many different things that it wasn't just horror movies. Sometimes it's sort of like sex and violence, but
lots of sex.
Older stuff, the kind of the older Shaw Brothers movies that they did that were kind of more horror feeling, but didn't have a Cat 3 rating. But some of them are arguably classic movies. I'll always
absolutely
speak about Hex as being one of the finest. The remake of Diabolique, which is I prefer over Diabolique. So some of those older films are worth tracking down, and I think quite easy to get because they're not that many people pay that much attention to the old Shaw's kind of horror stuff. So 88,
that's true.
A bunch of them, and they're still really cheap. Some of those 88.
Yeah, I think Hex I got for like £6. Yeah. On Blu-ray. I mean, that's amazing.
And there's some pretty good extras on it as well. I think
that's true. Speaking of Cat 3, we were talking about some of these labels that are doing stuff that is basically premium level releases, but they're just regular labels. I don't know what that means necessarily. One that we both have talked about, Cat 3, Air 4444.
I did not have a super fancy box that you did, but I have my easy to store. I just got the slipcase.
It's gorgeous. Everything in here, like the fact that they went so far into making this a magnetic clasp. They did the joint spine on this for the 2 different titles. And then on the inside, we've got like an abundance of good stuff. First of all, art on the inside of the box. Any company doing it right will do that. We've got a large booklet. Lots of stuff in here. And then and also a smaller booklet. Yeah. And then for the other title, there is that booklet. That is the Centipede Horror. But then these slip covers, or rather slip cases, they are like full slips that you pull them out.
Not just O-rings. Yeah.
And then we got, I think these are, no, this is the one you showed. There's also an alternate slipcase for each of these that came in the big one.
Black ones.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, for a company that this is technically only their 3rd, I guess, wave of releases. This is their 4th and 5th title. That is insanity that they're able and willing to do something like this. This is kind of unheard of to have such a new company be able to dive in and put this much love into it.
They're exactly like us, though, man. I'll plug on your behalf your amazing chat you did with the 2 guys because it's so good. It's so good. I mean, they weren't really on my radar to pick up one of their releases until I watched that interview, and it's like, man, I need to kind of jump on early. And the next 4 titles look even more up my street, but yeah, very, very cool. Like, even be stickers in there. I think if I was giving them some constructive criticism, and I hope that if they're watching they take this in the way it's intended, maybe get a slightly fatter box, because it's really hard to fit the amount of extras inside that box. Because I have to keep them. I think you can get the booklet on its own, but there was so much other stuff that came in a little kind of envelope, and that stuff I think you'd be hard pushed to try and find. And the poster is huge.
It is huge.
I think maybe it's one of the biggest posters I've seen from fill my entire screen.
That is amazing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Look at that art. Yeah,
they're doing incredible work, and all 4 of those next titles sound like absolutely essential pickups.
What's funny that you brought up that you weren't paying attention to them until that chat. As I was having that chat, literally during, one of the things that they said was, we are very into the packaging. On every release, we're trying to level up. And the moment they said that, I was like, oh, me and Dragon are going to love these.
Yeah, man.
That's what worries me, though. Where do you think they go from something like this? If this is release 4 and 5, what is release 6 going to look like?
I think they'll probably just refine, because I think there's a few, like I was saying about the size of the boxes and just fitting everything inside them. I think that's the sort of stuff that will make in a poster that would actually fit inside that big box, and everything was kind of self-contained. It would just be little tweaks, and there was quite a sweet, bittersweet, but there's some really nice involvement from Travis Crawford on those 2 releases. He passed away really quite recently. He did some commentaries for the Shawscope Volume 2 set, and I think had done some really nice articles for both of the books. And then they do a nice little, the guys from Era 4444's response to the fact that he passed away. It's quite sweet, you know. You can tell they care. It's really heartfelt, and can't wait.
Yeah.
The titles are up on the website now, but there's no date for the next 4. I spotted it yesterday. Checked yesterday.
Well, and from what I'm hearing, there's I think they said on the Blu-ray.com forums that they were going to have one title in either April or May, but then to watch out for the rest of the year because it's going to be very prolific. So we might be about to get hit very hard with error stuff for the rest of the year. And I know that they were hounded by people for shipping delays, so they're probably literally 2 people. They're probably waiting on stuff to be actually in hand, or at least closer to being in hand before they announce this next time, which means that we've had a good 5-month delay on this next one since the announcement. But when you're getting quality like this, I'm not going to complain about that.
It's worth waiting for, and they're so transparent. Like the constant updates saying, "Look, we're getting there," and they'd be like letting you know how much stuff they'd shipped out, and then kind of working through the orders. Because I don't think they expected to be as inundated for those 2 releases. They're a lot more popular in sales than their previous ones. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm assuming that the next one up is going to be Fatal Termination, which is such an insane movie. Maybe not. That's the one that comes up first on the website. So I was kind of guessing that. And when they've done their press, it's usually the one they've been leading with. So my gut would say that's probably the one that will come out first, because it's the most no-brainer of a film to sell.
Right.
If you're
especially if you're doing it by itself.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued to see what they put together for it. Yeah, I can't wait. While on the subject of new labels, I'll slip this one in because I'm more in the really impressed with the company's kind of after sales in this instance. Chameleon Films, and I think on one of your chats, I'm sure Flip had spoken. I think just after he maybe saw Exiled, I'm sure it was Exiled he spoke about. But they've only put out 3 titles so far. So based in Australia, alongside Impact and Umbrella, but the moment focusing on Asian cinemas. They did 2 Johnny Toes, they did Breaking News, 1 Japanese movie, Summertime Machine Blues, and Exiled. But quite quickly people asked, like, why didn't you do like slips for them? Like after they came out, and so they ran polls on, I think, on their Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook, and the overwhelming response was, yeah, we'd kind of like slips. So they've retroactively made slipcases for their first 3 releases,
and they look nice.
Very cool. I think it's like £9 for all 3, which is priced really well. And their next 2 titles come as a double pack as well, another Johnny Toe, which comes out quite soon. So I think it's rare for me to get a label I want to try and get every single number, but I kind of get the sense that these guys are. I didn't get there in time for Era 4444, and I think it would break the bank to try and get their early releases. They've already skyrocketed. But Chameleon, I'm going to try and see if I can kind of stay the course, because really, really impressed. The on-disc extra is phenomenal as well.
I don't know if it's the same shipping to you, but the slipcovers, if you go to order those to the US with shipping, it is, I think, $24 overall. Okay. And if you go and add that next double feature of Election and Election 2, your shipping doesn't increase at all. So if you were going to just buy the slipcovers, you may as well just get the next release at the same exact time and save on shipping.
Absolutely, yeah. And
so it's very fair.
I saw them on somebody's page. Somebody was definitely importing them. I think it's maybe Orbit or maybe Diabolic, but I want to say it was Orbit. I think they had them in their sort of in-store new deliveries or new arrivals. So I'm sure if you didn't want to pull them over, same with Imprint, you can find a couple of the US distributors who do the heavy lifting of importing it, and then you can just get from them. But I think their shipping's reasonable, and they did there was a great package price for those 3, which you kind of wanted to get all 3 together, that you saved a little bit more too. and just really cool. This good.
And those first 3, I don't think they were limited in what they've sold so far.
No,
even if you buy them now, you get the exact same thing.
Yeah, totally. And I think the slipcase is limited to 500. I think for the earlier releases, but that'll be the only limited element, and they're all going to have them moving forward. So, yeah, very cool.
It's a nice choice. Let's see. I've got a couple more exclusives, and well, actually, you just mentioned one company, and we were talking about regular labels that are premium adjacent. I wanted to shout out Imprint. They just put out their first 4K of the War of the Worlds, and it's got this J card that's kind of just messy, but the box itself is a hard box, like a full slip. It is a lenticular. Lenticular cover, kind of hard to see on the camera, of course, but it is with a booklet and a steelbook. They did their first steelbook as well, and it is fairly well made. And when you pop it open, it's got decent art. You've got the 4K
the cover image is great.
Yeah, 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc. They didn't do any new features, unfortunately, but the big deal is that it's their first 4K. And they went back to their first spine number, and they just put out the exact same film, exact same features and everything. But yeah, if they're going to do stuff like this, it's going to be high quality. And a lot of the Imprint stuff, I mean, I just happen to have one of their other things here, like their release of the Killer Elite. This is a hard box.
Beautiful.
Multiple cases on the inside. It's just very well made. Their stuff is always high quality. So
some really interesting stuff coming out of Australia. Umbrella too seem to be upping their game. They did that crazy release of Megaforce.
Yeah.
And I just saw them doing a Bittersweet Life. I just announced a Bittersweet Life, which looks so beautiful and such a wonderful movie.
That and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Smell-O-Vision.
Yeah.
Or Stinko-Vision, whatever they called it. Yeah, and then they're getting the Weird Al Yankovic movie from last year on 4K. That's the first
one with Daniel Radcliffe in it.
It's the first physical media release announced anywhere in the world of that movie, and it's coming out on 4K from Umbrella.
Very cool scoop.
Yeah.
And they're picking up Eureka titles too. They've got Iron Monkey and Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain coming out too. Just it's great. It's cool to see. I think, like we said last time, a rising tide lifts all ships, and I think it's
exactly
fine to kind of have these little pockets of great kind of new independent labels at different parts of the world. Cool.
Certainly. These two, one of these, I was going to ask you a question because maybe you know more about it. I had never seen any other release from this company. I don't even know how to say their name right. It is D''Ailly. I think it's a French company. Have you heard of them? I assumed it was Daily or Dally, something like that.
Give me the spelling one more time.
D''Ailly.
That's a completely new one on me. I've never heard of that.
So it is a release of Let Me In. This is the English remake of Let the Right One In. And it's just a full slip box of an Amaray case. I won this. I won it in a raffle, and I put in like $3, and I haven't had the heart to open it because I don't know, like, is this one of the most rare things in the world? I can't find a dang thing about it. Yeah. So
cool.
It's nice.
I've never heard of them. There are kind of a few random kind of like European labels. We spoke a bit about Film Arena last time.
Yes.
And there's also, I don't think either of us are comfortable knowing exactly what the deal is with City Museum to speak about them with any authority. I don't know if that's like a part of somebody's website or if that's an actual label. Hard to tell. And Blue Fans too. There's a couple of other ones that I think Blue Fans from China. And I don't have any of their stuff. Mantelab, a couple of bits and pieces, and HD Zeta, a couple of bits and pieces. But that's pretty much between last time and today. I think that's the bulk of the big kind of main heavy hitters that I'm kind of aware of that are doing stuff at the more expensive sort of premium level. But it's really cool seeing how much is happening at the other end, so the not too breaky banky end, like those Error 4444 titles. I mean, you got the super fancy Everything Together set, which was still pretty reasonable. I think that just sold too fast for me to get. But that one I got, I think, was $36 with all of that stuff with it
for both films. Yeah,
which is reasonable. It's pretty good.
Yeah, especially for good premium products. It's very well made. Yeah, all works out.
Yeah, cool.
I've got some other media books to show, and then I've got a randomly. Last time we talked, I realized I didn't share an Amazon exclusive, which doesn't happen all that often.
No.
let me pull this out of the wrapper so that it doesn't reflect too much. So this was an Amazon Japan exclusive.
Okay.
And I think that they've had an Amazon Germany exclusive release of like a Spider-Man movie or Morbius or something not great like that. But this one was gorgeous, and I was not going to say no to this. And I love this movie, so I had to. This is an Amazon Japanese exclusive, Midsummer.
Oh, wow.
And it is this little J card. So when you take that off, you get the actual art, which is just stupendous.
Beautiful.
It is very fancy, like folk drawings on the whole thing. But this is a slipcover. And when you pull it off, you get a steelbook on the inside.
Nice.
Opening this up, you get a little advertising thing, basically, but it's a 3-disc release. There is substantial stuff in here. Very English friendly for, I believe, all of the extras on it. And then on the inside of the slipcase, there's a whole extra thing where they've got this really nice, like high quality postcard, and then this little folk booklet with it as well, with art and a lot of writing on the film. I think it's all Japanese, unfortunately. Yeah, all Japanese. But I mean, even the booklet, you can't really see it too well. It's textured. All of that, all of that is all imprinted on paper.
Beautiful.
It's intense. It's amazing.
Nicest version of that I've seen. I know that A24 did, because that's an A24 film, isn't it?
Yep.
A24 did a kind of book version of it that kind of came with one disc, but it was a weird size. And
yes, it is huge.
And doesn't match really, because they seem to do slightly different format for each film almost. So
yeah, they've done, I think, 3 or 4 of those big ones. The rest are small. It's odd what they're choosing to do over there.
But the Japanese box sets are incredible. I've got a couple that are really not English friendly, but I took the sacrifice on it. The last 2 Rurouni Kenshin movies are impossible to get on physical media outside of Japan because Netflix bought the rights. So I think these 2 are those, but they're not English friendly at all, but it's fine. And then probably right behind my head are old Japanese DVD box sets of the 2 Kill Bill movies that are
nice,
loaded with some great stuff, and they're very cheap. Like, you do see them going for crazy money, but don't pay crazy money. You can get them for maybe $15-20 each if you're patient. Yeah, and they're the totally uncut versions of the movies, so it doesn't go to black and white in the first movie. It's all color all the way through, lots more blood and lots more mayhem.
Nice
box sets. I think there are some really nice older DVD box sets too. So for those who don't feel that everything we're speaking about requires the deepest pockets in the world,
yes,
there's still really nice older versions of stuff on DVD. I think I'd picked up my first ever Laserdisc like a week ago, purely because it was so cheap, and so
nice.
It's one of those movies that I can never have too many copies of. So I have no Laserdisc player, but
me neither. And I think I've got 3 Laserdiscs.
They're cool. They're so weird. I try and trick my nieces. My nieces are quite young, so try and tell them this is our normal audio CD. This is what they were all like when it started. Like our CD Walkmans were basically the size of a backpack. You had to keep it level all the time, or the world would end. And see if I could get it by them. Good.
You wanted, speaking of things that are not too expensive, you wanted to mention Criterion.
Yeah, a little bit. Criterion, just because after I think quite a difficult period for them over the last little while. And a huge amount of layoffs recently. They had to let a lot of staff go, and I think moving forward, their budgets are a little bit diminished for some of their special editions. But they're announcing some interesting stuff, and they're kind of, I feel, getting back to stuff that's going to draw in idiots like me. So I agree. The Infernal Affairs, one of the nicest things I've seen them put out for a while. The box is pretty well made, kind of nice booklet with it, some kind of great extras. Nothing too new. They're all extras that were on older releases. But it kind of made me laugh when I saw their cover, because I didn't have a thing about making fake Criterion covers myself for stuff that I don't know where to put, and so it ends up in the Criterion cupboard, and I'll make my own art so I can put whatever random films. I'd done it ages ago for myself, and then when it came out, and I started almost convincing myself that you've seen Amelie, in an almost Amelie way, where she thinks the photographs that she's taking are affected. I'm now just randomly making Criterion boxes for things I want Criterion to put out, and seeing if I can will it into existence. But no, it's really nice to see them doing more Hong Kong, more Asian cinema. And a few new announcements. Eastern Condor's coming this year from them. which is such an incredible movie. And
the Last Hurrah for Chivalry, the John Woo film, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think both previously available from Eureka, but both on double or triple packs. So nice to get them as an actual standalone. Should be very, very cool. And I think Criterion, don't count them out yet. I always think they're kind of starting to lose out too much to the new blood, but I think they've still got a trick up their sleeve or two. Hopefully we can see some more stuff.
And as a reminder, a lot of their old stuff was very high quality, and that's why when we talk like this, it's not because they've always been bad or they've got this reputation and now they're just terrible, and they're not even terrible. I feel like they've announced better titles than they have in years over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
But something that they used to do, some of their limited edition releases, like this is the Zatoichi box set.
This is still my favorite single box set they've made. This
is just like highest quality that you could possibly hope for in a release like this. Some of the best art they've ever done. Absolutely gorgeous to behold. Tons of discs. And then, of course, nice hardback box on the inside. And it's just a wonderful release. This is something that you don't expect from current Criterion. So it's nice to see them putting out titles that people are excited about, because for a while, not that nobody was excited about them, but a lot of people that used to be major fans of Criterion were just kind of, but it's Criterion.
Yeah, there's just too many other people doing too much interesting stuff. But I think if they re-released that Showa era Godzilla box set and that Zatoichi size, I think they make a mint. They can resell it all over again even to the people who bought it before. Cause that was the one thing that always put me off that big Godzilla box, is I physically can't fit it anywhere.
I had it and I sold it almost immediately because it is overbearing. I don't like the design of it. And then on top of all that, I watched one disc and it was the original one again, and it looked good because that one's always looked good. But supposedly the rest of them look awful, and Toho only granted them like really terrible scans of everything, which is you don't really want that when you're spending $125 on a collection like that.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think
sad.
Hopefully there's scope for somebody else in the future to kind of revisit that. We'll see if they kind of get some more love. But after that Zatoichi set, you reminded me of one thing I put out to the side. This was another silly custom that I made. But this would be my Criterion, if you're watching, put all 3 Hanzo the Razor movies onto a set, please. I made a silly case.
Nice.
I think Eureka previously put out as DVD. Have you seen the Hanzo the Razor movie?
I've not. A lot of the deep cuts I've not been able to get to yet.
That's the same actor from Zatoichi. And he made 3 films of the same character. It's called Hanzo, and he's a sort of police detective. But every case works out the same way, which is he'll meet somebody, invariably it'll be a woman, she doesn't want to speak to him, he'll sleep with her, she'll tell everything because of the unbelievable power of his manhood, which he spends a long time exercising, which you see in weird montage sequences in the film. They're pretty great fun. They're quite cheesy, but great fun. Really funky soundtrack. Excellent. Like, DVD from Eureka. But
you're bringing up customs. You want to talk about some customs that you've been diving into?
I think partly inspired by one of my subscribers who kind of put me in touch with a guy who has a little Etsy store. And by pure coincidence, I think the guy who told me about this, the Etsy seller, is based in the States. The Etsy seller is based in Glasgow, which is 40 minutes up the motorway from me. It was really weird that he was so close by. But he makes basically custom O-ring or full slip cases, and is dabbling at the moment with doing hard slips as well. I think still working out the logistics of that. But his full slips are incredible. So I think I showed you a couple of things. We'll start with the ones that won't be so easily identifiable, and I'll show stuff that people will be able to appreciate the quality of a bit more. But yeah, that was an extreme job. Kind of the Korean movie I was telling you about before we started, which is all about cops who go undercover at a chicken restaurant to stake out these gangsters. The chicken restaurant starts becoming incredibly successful, so they end up basically almost doing better as chicken restaurant runners than they do as cops. But the 2 stories converge and they save the day. But he made me a wonderful, completely wrapped around with fried chicken slipcase for that. And then he always sort of throws in really nice quality postcards, just as a little promotional card to say thank you for ordering from him. But he'll do a different one for every order, which is a really nice touch. So I'm going to do one for that. He did with a great anime series called Ida Yoshiki. I kind of want to use the artwork from the original manga books for the case again. Different artwork.
Oh, wow.
And really beautifully made, nicely printed. They're decent. They're not too flimsy. And I started throwing them slightly weirder requests for different sizes. I think I had an old 30th anniversary version of Blade Runner, which originally came with a spinner toy. I think there was this one for anybody who's box, and I got it secondhand without the toy, so I had basically the stuff from inside it. So he made me first off a nice O-ring for it.
Nice.
So literally different on each side, and a slight texture to it from close enough. It's got a really nice quality of card that he's printed on.
Oh, interesting.
Again, sent me a little extra postcard that he'd made of some random image. I've no idea where he found that one from. And then sent a really nice outers. This is kind of the outer full slip. So one of them flapped all the way around. I added a little. I did the design myself, and he just basically printed it for me. The logo on the top. So he's pretty open to very collaborative.
Yeah.
Collaborative. So we did two at the same time that worked out quite reasonably. So one for the original Blade Runner and one for 2049.
Nice.
So they kind of match. So it's a nice little set, but surprisingly cost effective. And there was a really nice UHD Club release of 2049 that used that same artwork. It's like 300 quid plus, if you can find one. And this basically inside here is now just a nice steelbook that I like. So you have all the same extras. I think he charged me, about 15 or 16 pounds for that the outer slip. So it is a bit of an indulgence. It's not super cheap, because you're doing a once-off, you're doing a custom, and it's got to take a little bit of time to kind of do the artwork.
Right.
But I think for films that you are swithering about, do I spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds for this super fancy edition, or do I just tart up the one that I have and make it even more sort of individual, where no one else is going to have that same thing? And in
all reality, a lot of these premiums, that's all they're doing. They're just putting a fancy box around a release that you already have.
Yeah. So I'd say pick artwork you like and kind of contact a dude like that. I think Jam Slips is the guy that I used, and if you've got Photoshop yourself, then you don't even need to go to that realms. I mean, do what I do with Criterion, just start messing around yourself. So that was my Criterion Fight Club.
Nice.
With that kind of wee silly little driver's ID. So, and that was just 5 or 10 minutes while sitting on the train to work one day. It's a good fun. So I'm all for customs. I think some people, I know, look down on them and see it as being not a real collection that way, but whatever.
I'm a big fan of customs that will enhance what you have, especially rather than like destroying something that already exists. I don't know. I just can't bring it to myself. Like, I know that there are some people that do custom steelbooks. So you'll send them a steelbook and they will literally ruin what is on there and paint over it or print over it. And a lot of them, they're not super high quality. They look like it's literally a laser jet printer doing these. And in many cases they are. So not a fan of those, but like the, I happen to have them right here. The Halloween releases from Scream Factory that are all hard boxes. They've now done, I think it's 8 total films. And the crazy thing is they were required to sell the parts 6, 7, and 8 in a box set together. But they wanted everybody to be able to match it in their collection. So they each came in these hard boxes, but in a really crappy quality, like outer cardboard box. It's awful. And somebody on Etsy took it upon themselves to make a box that will fit all 8. So you have the whole chipboard box with the 8 hardboard boxes on the inside, and it's sized perfectly. So you can find a couple people on Etsy doing that. That kind of thing is great. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's see. I think we got 2 things left, and I know you got to go soon, so I will go quickly through these. Media books. We didn't go real deep into media books last time. We just kind of touched on them. And obviously, Wicked Vision has been a big person in my channel over the last couple months. I just kept a couple of those nearby to say they do amazing stuff. There are other companies that do some really interesting things. This is NSM Records, also out of Germany. This is a 4K of the Blood on Satan's Claw that, in the US at least, out of print. You can't get it from Severin unless it's during a sale, and you can get this fairly easily from Germany.
Are you using Amazon Germany for yours? You mostly get them through Amazon Germany?
No, Orbit and Diabolic are suddenly carrying a lot of these, almost like you can depend on them. it's hard because they're not offering pre-orders because they can't always guarantee it, but they still seem to always get them. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to judge. It's hard to see a way to guarantee a copy unless you order from overseas. But it's so much cheaper to get it from something like Diabolic when they're already paying for the shipping.
Go straight to Germany as well. I've had a few times I've had orders be accepted, but then turned down if they couldn't get a copy. Because some of the print runs for MediaBook's really low, like 200.
Oh yeah,
it's quite common. Because
this one that I just showed is 222.
Yeah. Weirdly, they always seem to do 222, 333 quite a lot. And
this next one I'm going to show is 333. This is David Lynch's Wild at Heart. This is a wild cover. Yeah.
Beautiful art.
This company is Sinistrange, which I've heard some interesting things about. I won't say that they're somebody... I know before I make a comment, let me check something because I got some actual information recently.
I think sometimes you wonder how legitimate a release that is, or
well, Germany is very questionable on the rights a lot of the times, and let me see.
Yes, but yes, Nameless I've experienced. Nameless really good.
Nameless is great.
But rarely, for some of the movies that I was jumping into, rarely English friendly. So, in no English subs sometimes for most of the Korean movies I bought out of Germany don't have English subs on.
That's true.
Easy enough to swap out the disc usually and get a really nice media book if you just factor that in.
The reason I pulled this one down, we don't talk about the differences in media books a lot, and this one, it's going to be very difficult to share. You can see that cover is a little extra thick. This is because they call it a padded media book. It literally is like a pillowed cover. It's like sitting on a latex covered chair in a greasy diner where it's fairly stiff, but you can dimple it in just a little bit, and it's got almost that exact texture. It's odd, but they're very nice, and they do some big ones too. 84 is another media book company. This is one for the From Dusk Till Dawn trilogy. It says all of the films, and it is a very thick padded media book.
Yeah, and it's got 4 discs or so inside there.
Yeah, in fact, there might even be more discs. There are, let me see. And it's the Studio Canal scan, so it's high quality. Yeah, it is at least, let's see, somewhere between 3 and 6 discs. And then, last one I wanted to shout out. This is, who put this out? I thought I had the name, and I don't. Some of the A24 films have been being beat to 4K.
I haven't seen that in the wild yet, but I'd seen that on German Amazon. That's beautiful. Yeah. Really, really nice.
Yeah, and this is the first place that you could get this on 4K in the entire world. So this X was in 4K over there. Alex Garland's Men was in 4K in a media book and steelbook in Germany. So yeah, Germany is a great place to keep an eye on. They do some really great stuff.
Beautiful Everything Everywhere All at Once as well, with that original really great kind of like the wild poster that was on. Yes,
I might have the steelbook nearby to show you. Yeah, I got it. The one from France.
Oh, nice. I was impatient. I got the Best Buy for the 4K.
Nice.
Kind of the googly eyes cover.
Yeah.
Which I briefly showed last time, I think. But yeah, they do some lovely stuff. And I think sometimes you're just buying just for the cover and for the packaging more than for another copy of the movie.
That's true. And I wasn't going to show it, but I guess that makes sense too. I did just talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once from France. And one big thing that France has been doing is continuing that Mondo X Steelbook line. I don't remember if we talked about that last time, but they've been doing these Marvel things, which obviously everybody has like 9 releases of the Marvel films at this point. But yeah, they just did, I think, 5 or 6 more. And they're probably going to be complete with the Marvel stuff soon. But this line has been going now for literally almost like 10 years. Yeah. So it's crazy how long they've been doing it.
There's a couple of things that were really quite surprising that only came out in different European countries as part of that range. There's the Boondock Saints one.
Yes.
Comes with there's an amazing documentary about the making of that film that's easily better than the film that it's. I like Boondock Saints, but the documentary Overnight about Troy Duffy is spectacular. I saw him in a double feature in a film festival here when the documentary first
came.
just wild. So if anyone's seen the Breeding Dog Saints, absolutely see the documentary. But that
Very
one
nice.
has it. It's like a double disc set. It's got them both together.
Nice.
And very cool.
Huh.
The Mondo stuff's really nice.
I think you had one more that you wanted to talk about. The newer film movement. Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah, no, the Film Vault.
Film Vault. That's what it is.
An oversized box for it. This is one of 4. So the first range was this Scarface, the Pacino Scarface, not the old timey one. Goodfellas and 1917.
Yep.
Which are, I think, all being distributed by Warner Brothers, even though they're not all Warner's movies. I don't think that. I don't think Scarface. Maybe not. Anyway, the first 4 are all from Warner Brothers, but I don't know if Film Vault themselves are owned by Warner Brothers or have a connection. They don't seem to. But it is a kind of repackaging of the previous 4K of the final cut that was already out, with a few extras. This one, they are all numbered. This is a promo copy. This one not numbered. I think they're normally numbered up to, I think it's 3,000 for each one of the 4. So not super low, but magnetic box, and inside a big kind of envelope, which we'll take a look at in a second. The discs are weirdly in this sort of CD-sized case, digi, but the quality of the printing's pretty good. They're not super cheap, and I think they sold out quite quickly, about £50, I think, retail. New discs right now.
Crazy.
But it's kind of an unusual format. I think they're kind of going for something that's going to try and, I guess, make them stand out from the crowd a bit. And the fact they'll be bigger than anything else on your shelf.
Right.
And then you get a little plaque, I think, for each film. So this seems to be quite a uniform extra, unlike the Titans of Cult stuff, where they did a slightly different extra each time, and sometimes they were kind of cool. I mean, mini steelbooks were quite cool. Sometimes they were useless. And, so the Titans of Cult I could take or leave, but this is pretty nice, and I think the quality of the printed extras inside. There's a really good. If you're a fan of kind of geeky blueprints, which I am, a nice full-out blueprint of the spin.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty cool. Which would be a nice thing to frame up. And then original production sketches, and yeah, I was a big fan of that, with double-sided, each one different on each side, so you're getting kind of storyboard pictures or a little bit of text on different things throughout each of, I think it's Sid Mead's original concept designs for the world. Pretty cool. I think this was the only title that jumped out at me. The other 3 I probably wouldn't run out and grab after checking this one out, because it's quite a specialist-y thing. But Blade Runner I absolutely adore, so it was, this one I was excited to try and track down and check out, and I think it would have been nice if it had all of the on-disc extras from some of the previous versions. There was a really nice 5-disc Blu-ray, not 4K, just a kind of 5-disc set. I don't think it was a final cut. The one that had like all the work prints and had the original theatrical version on it. It had like maybe 3-4 different cuts of the film and loads of documentaries. It would have been great to see those extras coming over, because they're all on the anniversary extras, anniversary editions and stuff.
Right.
It's a shame when a newer version comes out with sort of less than the older ones, but it is what it is. But yeah, that was our other one that was on our wee list to mention. And I think other than that, was one random collecting tip that I had.
Okay.
I don't want. I know that FOMO is a thing, and kind of people worry if they kind of can't keep up with this sort of stuff. I was going to speak way at the other end of the price spectrum. So literally, this is the $1 club collectors, where so many computer games came out with steelbooks when the PlayStation 2 came out and PlayStation 4, and some of these steelbooks were very cool, and a lot of them were branded in a way where it's not obvious what they were for. So I got a great James Bond one. It's literally just, that's it. So it could be for anything, which I use for Casino Royale. It's for my Casino Royale Blu-ray lives. And a pretty great one for, I think this is for the Alien versus Predator game, but it's still
interesting.
One of the Alien steelbooks that I've seen. I'll take that out of the bag. And again, £1.50. You can find these secondhand all the time for next to nothing, and just use them for whatever you want. So that's where I keep my Predator Blu-ray lives inside there.
Nice.
So yeah, so there are always kind of cheaper ways to kind of add to the collection. I don't want people watching this sort of thing and getting bummed out by it, and being like, "Man, I don't have hundreds of pounds to drop on one single box set." But
yeah,
it doesn't need to be.
That's smart. I think I've gotten, unknowingly that you were going to even bring that up, I think I've got 2 of those. One of them was an NBA 2K or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That I grew up in California, so I grew up loving the Lakers. And when Kobe Bryant passed a couple of years ago, it was a big thing for me. And they put out like a legacy steelbook with him on the cover, and it's gorgeous. And it came for a game. And I don't have the game, but hey, I bought the steelbook for like $1 or something. Why would I say no to that? And then there was a Lego game that they released a few years ago with a gorgeous steelbook, and I was like, I don't have the steelbook for the Lego movie. This is perfect.
Yeah,
I think it was like $5 maybe at Best Buy. It's amazing, empty steelbook. So I'm not wasting media when I buy it. There was no game in it. I think it was a giveaway item when you pre-ordered the game, and they just had extras, so they sold them later on for inventory.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And I think, again, you end up with something that's a little bit individual, a little bit unique. So
yeah, perfect.
There's always kind of wee treats to be found at any sort of price spectrum. So don't feel that I don't want to kind of gatekeep this to just people with a certain level.
Exactly.
And also worth pointing out that both of us sell a lot of stuff in order to kind of replenish and buy the next batch of stuff. So it's not like we're kind of hoarding every single custom. And some of them hold their value more or less if you keep it sealed, but I don't really keep anything sealed. But
I try not to.
Open them. But I think it's don't get to the end of this and feel bad if you can't afford the super fancy ones. There's loads of good stuff out there for all prices.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming back. This has been so much fun. I love talking premiums so much.
Anytime.
We will do a part 3. Maybe we'll dive into like the actual process of group buys next time, because
that'd be good.
That is a tough one that scares a lot of people away.
There's a new contender. There's a new contender to the throne, because up until this point, Media Cycles has really been the main one that I was aware of.
Yeah.
There's a UK based one started up, which I know less exciting for guys on your side of the pond, but for us over here, where group buys were becoming almost 30-40% more expensive because you were shipping to the States first and shipping to here. It's a UK based, it's called King of Steel Media, or King of Steel Media. Got a good Facebook page, and his group buys have been running for a little while. Does loads of raffles, which is a nice thing to see those sort of groups do. So it's stuff that has come from group buys, but he'll either raffle off completely, so as a prize, and you just buy a raffle ticket, usually £1 or £2 a raffle ticket, and max it. You can only buy 2, but it's a chance to get like a nice super premium for just a couple of quid if you're lucky.
Wow.
And you don't need to be a member of his kind of website or anything to do that. Anyone can pretty much enter. So check out his Facebook page. If I remember, I'll stick a wee link up on my community tab, and people can find it.
Perfect. Great. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not, please go check out Dragon's page. He does incredible stuff, focuses on a lot of Asian titles, and other than that, he's just knowledgeable. He's one of those people that gives out good information, and that's why I've enjoyed you from day one. So thank you so much for what you do.
Very nice way of saying I'm old. So I've been around for a while. I have a cat who will occasionally crush up in videos, and my editor also gave me a hard time for last time I was on for not mentioning that I write the Blu-ray section for Eastern Heroes. So, for anyone who buys Eastern Heroes magazine, I'm in that pretty much every issue, doing the same thing as I do on YouTube, but in print rather than in talking videos.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Hopefully we'll get you on soon for a part 3, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Anytime. Have a great weekend.